You're born screaming, which is appropriate because everything around you is also screaming. No crib, no baby shower, just a violent entrance into a world that's already on fire and probably will be until you die. Your mother barely notices you exist. She's busy sharpening something. Your father might be around, might be dead, might be that guy over there eating raw meat with his hands. The closest doctor is a shaman talking to rocks. Nobody's keeping track. Orc childhoods aren't about bonding. They're about not getting stepped on until you're big enough to do the stepping. The first lesson you learn is simple. Take what you need, or go without. There's no meal schedule. No one's cutting your food into small pieces. You see something edible, you grab it before someone bigger does. Sometimes that something is fighting back. Doesn't matter. Hunger beats fear every single time. Your childhood is a highlight reel of getting hit by things. Other orc kids. Falling rocks. The occasional wolf that wandered too close to camp. You're building pain tolerance whether you want to or not. Every bruise is a teacher. Every cut is a reminder that you're still slower than you need to be. Around age 5, you're expected to contribute. Not in a cute chores kind of way. Real work. Carrying weapons, hauling water, dragging bodies away from wherever they fell. Nobody asks if you're ready. You either do it, or you get yelled at until you do. The camp itself is organized chaos, tents everywhere, fires burning at random intervals. Someone's always fighting about something. Could be food, could be honor. Could be that one guy looked at another guy wrong. The reason doesn't matter as much as the fight itself. You start noticing the hierarchy. The biggest orcs get the best spots, the most food, the first choice of weapons. The weak ones get what's left, which is usually nothing. You're somewhere in the middle. Too small to matter, but too quick to ignore completely. Training starts when someone decides you're old enough to hold an axe without dropping it on your own foot. This takes longer than you'd think. The weapon's almost as big as you are, and balance isn't exactly an orc strong suit at this age, but you figure it out because the alternative is getting laughed at, and orc mockery is somehow worse than actual pain. Your instructor, if you can call him that, teaches by demonstration. He swings, you copy. He blocks, you try not to die. There's no theory, no explanation of technique, just repetition, until your muscles remember what your brain can't process. The first time you win a real fight, everything changes. It's against another young orc, someone close to your size. The whole thing lasts maybe 30 seconds. You hit harder. He goes down. And suddenly, you're not invisible anymore. Other orcs actually see you now. You've proven you can hurt things. That's the only credential that matters. You start growing faster. Orc puberty is less awkward teenager and more violent transformation. Your body's adding muscle you didn't ask for. Your voice drops about 3 octaves, and your appetite becomes genuinely concerning. You're eating everything in sight, and still hungry an hour later. The clan structure becomes clearer as you age. You're part of something bigger, though nobody sat you down to explain what that means. You just know these are your people. This is your territory, and anyone who says otherwise is volunteering for a beating. Raids start becoming part of the routine. Not the massive warfare you'll see later, just smaller conflicts with neighboring groups. Could be other orc clans. Could be some unfortunate settlement that happens to exist near your camp. You're not leading these raids yet. You're just extra muscle in the back. But you're learning how it works. You watch the older warriors and start understanding combat on a larger scale. It's not just about individual strength. There's timing involved, positioning, knowing when to charge and when to let someone else take the hit. Not tactics exactly, more like violent instinct refined through repetition. The first time you kill something that's not food, you expect to feel different. Shouldn't there be some moment of reflection? Some weight to taking a life? But no. There's just the fight, the victory, and the immediate question of what comes next. Orc philosophy doesn't leave much room for contemplation. You're becoming someone the others respect, which in orc terms means they don't immediately challenge you when you take something. You've carved out a space in the hierarchy through consistent violence and an unwillingness to back down from anything. Then one day, someone mentions the Horde. Not like it's news, you've heard the term before, but now it means something. There's a larger movement happening, clans uniting under a single banner. War on a scale you've only heard about in stories told around fires. A war chief's representative arrives at camp. He's bigger than anyone you've seen, covered in scars that look like they have their own scars, carrying an axe that probably weighs more than you did as a child. He's not here to ask nicely. The clan is joining the Horde, or becoming an obstacle to it. Blackhand. Your chieftain agrees immediately. Duratan. Not out of fear, though the representative is terrifying. It's opportunity. Real war means real glory, and every orc in camp can feel it. The energy shifts from random daily violence to focused preparation. Weapons get sharpened, armor gets hammered together from whatever's available. The camp's entire purpose pivots toward a single goal. You're going to war. Actual war. The kind that ends with either victory or death. Preferably victory. But honestly, a good death isn't the worst outcome. You're given assignments based on your abilities. Turns out years of hitting things hard have prepared you for a career in hitting things hard professionally. You're infantry. Front line. The first group to make contact with whatever's stupid enough to stand in the way. The march begins, and you realize this is bigger than you thought. It's not just your clan anymore. Thousands of orcs moving as one massive force, all heading toward the same destination. The ground shakes when you march. The noise is constant, a wall of sound that announces your presence miles before you arrive. Someone explains the target. There's another planet, full of soft races who've never experienced real war. They have cities, farms, organized societies, everything an orc hates and wants to destroy simultaneously. But getting there requires something you've never seen before. A portal. Magic beyond your understanding, powered by forces that make your skin itch just thinking about them. You're about to discover that your small, violent life was just preparation for something much larger and infinitely more brutal. The warlock's magic starts affecting warriors differently. Some drink demon blood willingly, chasing power. Their skin turns green, eyes glow red. They become stronger, faster, angrier. Also, possibly insane, but that's harder to measure. You refuse the blood. Not out of principle, just instinct. Something about it feels wrong, on a level deeper than thought. The orc who is in charge of opening the portal looks horrible, like he is 60, and he has a few more years before retirement. You laugh at him for using a walking stick until he drains the souls of 5 random orcs just for breakfast. Gul'dan. The portal opens, and you understand why the shamans looked nervous. It's not a doorway. It's a wound in reality, held together by magic that smells like burnt copper and regret. Warlocks stand around it chanting things you don't understand, and honestly don't want to. The air near it moves wrong, like it's trying to escape itself. You step through with thousands of others. The transition feels like being turned inside out while falling sideways through someone else's nightmare. Then, suddenly, you're standing on grass. Actual grass. Not the hard-packed dirt and volcanic rock you're used to. This place is green in ways that make your eyes hurt. Trees everywhere. Water that runs clear instead of thick with ash. It's disgusting. Beautiful, but disgusting. The locals call this place Azeroth. They have towns with actual planning involved, roads that go places on purpose, buildings that aren't just piled together until they stop falling over. Everything's organized, structured, wrong. Your job is simple. Destroy it. The first village you hit doesn't stand a chance. These humans have guards, sure, but they fight like they expect rules. They form lines and wait for commands and try to coordinate. You just run at them screaming, and suddenly they're reconsidering their career choices. Their weapons are well made. Probably took some blacksmith weeks to forge. Your axe is 3 pieces of metal you tied to a stick this morning. Doesn't matter. You hit harder. The Horde moves through their lands like a wildfire with anger issues. Every settlement becomes rubble. Every farm becomes a staging ground. The humans try to mount defenses, but they're fighting an enemy that doesn't care about logistics or supply lines or any of the things that make war complicated. You start understanding scale. This isn't a raid. It's an extinction event with flags. Entire kingdoms mobilize against you. Armies that trained for years march out in formation with banners and war cries and strategies. Then they meet thousands of orcs who learned combat by hitting each other until someone stopped moving. Training versus instinct. Discipline versus rage. It's not even close. Something changes after the 10th village. The humans start adapting. They learn that formations don't work, so they use terrain instead. They figure out that orcs charge first and think later, so they set traps. Clever bastards. You lose warriors to pits covered with leaves, to trees rigged to fall, to ambushes in places you thought were secure. Your chieftain calls it cowardice. You call it annoying. The war drags on. Months become years. You've killed more humans than you can count, which admittedly isn't saying much, but it's definitely a lot. You're not the same orc who walked through that portal. You're bigger now, scarred, missing 2 teeth and part of an ear. Each wound has a story you don't remember because you were too busy fighting to form memories. Then winter hits. Your first real winter. Turns out this planet has seasons, and one of them is cold enough to make your bones hurt. The Horde wasn't prepared for weather that actively wants you dead. Supplies run low. Warriors who survived 100 battles freeze to death in their sleep. The humans know their land and use it. Suddenly you're fighting enemies on 2 fronts, their armies and their environment. The warlocks promise victory. They always do. They unleash demons, creatures from places that make the portal look friendly. These things fight alongside you, sort of. They kill humans efficiently, but sometimes they kill orcs too. Nobody seems concerned about this. The warlocks say it's necessary. You don't trust warlocks, but you're not in charge of strategy. You participate in a siege, actual siege warfare with catapults and battering rams and weeks of sitting outside walls waiting for something to happen. Orcs aren't built for patience. The boredom kills morale faster than any defense. Warriors start fighting each other just to feel something. Command doesn't stop it. Probably thinks it keeps everyone sharp. The walls eventually break. You pour inside, expecting resistance, but find civilians, families, children hiding in basements and storage rooms. The chieftain gives an order. You follow it. This is what you tell yourself later when sleep becomes difficult. You were following orders, doing your duty, being a good soldier. The humans rally under a king. Stormwind, they call his city. He unites the scattered kingdoms into something resembling organized resistance. Suddenly, the easy victories stop coming. Every battle becomes brutal. The humans fight with desperation now, defending their last stronghold. They're not trying to win anymore, just trying to survive. You understand that motivation. Stormwind falls anyway. The Horde's momentum is unstoppable even when everything else starts crumbling. You stand in the throne room of their capital, surrounded by conquered architecture and burning tapestries. This should feel like victory. It feels empty. The Horde fractures. Different clans want different things now. Some want to keep pushing, find more kingdoms to destroy. Others want to settle here, claim this land as home. The warlocks want more power, always more power. Nobody agrees on what happens next. Turns out conquering is easier than ruling. You're standing in the ruins of someone else's civilization, part of an army that's forgetting why it's fighting. The bloodlust that drove you through that portal has faded into something else. Exhaustion, maybe. Doubt. You don't have words for it because orc vocabulary isn't big on introspection. A human prisoner asks why. Why invade? Why destroy? Why any of this? You don't have an answer. Because the war chiefs commanded it. Because your world was dying. Because it's what orcs do. None of these feel sufficient standing in the ash of their cities. More humans survive than expected. They flee north, regroup, prepare for round 2. The Horde controls the south, but it's a hollow victory. You're occupying a graveyard you created. The land provides resources, but there's no joy in it. No glory, just existence in a place that hates you. You wonder sometimes what happened to the orc you were before the portal, the one who fought for status and survival and simple things. That version seems distant now, like someone else's memory. War changes people. War using demon magic and targeting civilians changes them more. The Horde's story is far from over, but your part in it has lost meaning. You're a soldier in an army that forgot its purpose, conquering for conquest's sake. Fighting because stopping would mean confronting what you've become. So you keep your axe sharp and follow orders and try not to think too hard about the difference between warrior and murderer. You die eventually, maybe in battle, maybe from infection, maybe you just get tired and stop trying. The method doesn't really matter.